Aloha, all you money makers out there. This is Indar Lang, and I'm super excited to announce my great friend, Miss Megan here from Acorn Properties. Super excited to have her on the show. She's a close friend of mine. We've been through some close masterminds together and just shared our experience, strength, and hope. She's a beast in Nebraska and does a killer amount of deals and now into multifamily. So let's do it. Let's get this started, guys. Just before we get started, I'd love it if you guys could subscribe below, and that way we can reach more people and just help people make their money work for them in any different way we can. Thank you guys, and let's get started in today's content. So Megan, tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are and so forth. And obviously, I know everything about you. I mean, not everything, but I know a lot about you in the real estate side of everything. But we've been hanging out a lot together and been through a bunch of masterminds and just great meetups, I guess you can call them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was born and raised in California and
Yeah.
started into real estate about 7 years ago. Did a couple of decent, kind of boring deals, and then moved 5 years ago to Lincoln, Nebraska to do real estate full time, mostly for the rental market because it's cheap houses and good rents.
Mhm.
And so we've been doing it full time ever since. About I think around 60 properties now.
Mhm.
Um, Mostly flips, but kind of holding some rentals and have done a short-term rental and own a staging company.
What was that turning point when you wanted to move to Nebraska? Like, what was it? Why Nebraska, or what was the reason that you jumped?
Yeah, so my
Yeah.
husband was getting out of the military and
Hmm.
he was medically separated. So he had a really bad back injury. He couldn't work anymore. He couldn't stand for more than 15 minutes at a time. And we just decided, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And he really couldn't do any of the things he was trained to do. So we
Hmm.
just decided to go for broke on real estate. And we moved to Lincoln because it was cheaper, right? We could make rentals work, but we could
But why'd you
also
pick Lincoln? Like, what was it like? Not the other county or something?
Um, it was there's three colleges here. So there's a really strong rental market, there's
Mm.
job growth, really low unemployment, and then even the low income areas here aren't like ghetto. So I feel safe in any neighborhood here, which
Mm.
was a big thing for me because I knew I'd be working like on our flips by myself. And so I wanted to be
Mm.
safe.
Mm. You do some beautiful designs too of your flips. Actually, I was just hanging out with you last week, and I'm going to show you those cabinets you picked out our cabinets for our $3.2 million flip. So I'll show you how that turns out. But that's really interesting to me how you just got up and moved to Nebraska. It's a great market. Obviously, I think it's a great market, and you just took everything and went there because you have three kids too as well. So that's a
Yeah.
huge move as well. So what is it like flipping in Nebraska? What's that entail? What's that market like? What's your price point and what do you generally do?
Our normal price point is like 280. That's average.
Mm.
And then it sucks in the winter. That's the main difference about Nebraska, right? It's
Mm.
freaking freezing in the winter. So we have to make all of our money in the summer and then almost go broke in the winter and that whole game. But um yeah, it's 280 kind of price point, but it also rents for around 2,500. So you can get close to the 1%
Mm-mm.
pretty easily.
Mm. What do you mean sucks in the winter? You just can't do much construction outside, really, right? I mean, once you get a new roof on and siding, you can do inside work, right?
Yeah, but like if you find deals in the winter, you can't put on a new roof, you can't do siding, you can't
Mm.
paint.
Mm.
So if you find a deal in the winter, you're just kind of stuck sitting on it. You could you could do the inside, but you have to kind of wait on the outside or
Mm. So you kind of have a longer hold times, I guess. You gotta predict. I never thought of that. I
yeah.
just learned about the freezing pipes and all that breaking this year. Earlier this year, it happened on one of my mainland properties. I didn't know about keeping the water on all the time and all that. The heating
Yeah,
on.
it's a problem.
Yeah, I didn't know about that stuff. You got some great lenders out there. You got some great bank deals. I know. That's amazing. That really is great. What is your you're currently focused on flipping, I know. and you have a staging company as well. So now you're trying to scale your staging company and grow that. You do some really nice staging as well.
Thanks.
Tell me.
Yeah, we're trying to grow the staging, or we are growing the staging. We staged 80 houses last year. I think we'll probably double that this year.
Hmm,
And then I'd like to be able to franchise that at some point. So that should be kind of ready to go by the end of this year.
hmm. That's amazing. 80 houses. So the realtors and everyone know who you guys are, and you guys are constantly staging a lot of.
Yeah. Yep. We're realtors too. So we stage for our own clients. We stage obviously our flips, and then we stage a lot of clients'
Hmm,
houses, either
hmm.
realtors or other flippers in town.
I'm a big fan of staging. Always have been because I think it really showcases the house so much more than the person can visualize and see, where things would go and where a bed would go or a TV or sometimes people don't see it. And
Yeah. Yeah. They have a hard time with it. And they did a study. They say that houses that are staged sell for like 6 to 9% more than unstaged
mm,
houses.
mm,
So it helps. It definitely pays for itself.
yeah, it does. I agree. I mean, we spend sometimes 100 to $300,000 on a house. What's an extra couple grand to stage it, and
Right.
get the top dollar of the home if it's gonna bid your house up another 10 grand or so, so or help it
Yeah.
sell faster, even just sitting on the market longer. Um, a long time ago when I first started, not many people were staging, and I'd always fight the agents to stage my houses. Now we pay it for ourselves, but I need to stop doing that. I need to make sure the agents pay for it, but we've been paying for it ourselves. um,
Yeah. You should
so
get your agent to do it.
I know I need to oppose that to our agents. I make it too easy for them. But so staging, that's interesting. And now you have a bunch of rental properties and you have some clean and sober living properties as well. How's those going? Why do you like the clean and sober properties? Tell me more about those.
That's obviously really near and dear to my heart. You and I are both sober, so that's a big thing for me. I love being able to support that community. But just from a investment standpoint, it makes a ton of sense too because we're signing like 2 to 3 year leases with them. And
Mhm.
once it becomes a program house, they want to keep it as a program house. So it's really just like renegotiating the rent or bumping up the rent every 2 to 3 years.
How did you get into like finding out, where, the places that need it and so forth? How'd you connect with them or how'd you figure that out?
We flipped a house and an investor bought it. And I thought that was kind of weird that they could make the numbers to work
Mm,
buying one of our already flipped out houses. And they ended up making it a sober living house. So we ended up learning about the program later through one of the tenants that lived there. They were working for us. And so I
mm,
was able to kind of find out about how the program worked from the inside. And it honestly is a really great program. It has a really low rate of relapse and it's just like a really positive environment for these guys. So
mm,
they hooked us up with the guys who run it. They're called outreach workers, and
mm.
so their job is to find houses to rent. And so we got connected with them, and when they need another house in a certain town or in our town, they'll just tell us what they're looking for, and we go find it for them.
How do you figure out their rent rolls or what they need or what they're going to pay for rent? How do you figure?
Yeah,
Did you?
so they have like kind of a standard thing they're looking for women's houses. They want it to be like 7 to 9 women. So
Mhm.
usually like a 5 bedroom. For a men's house, they want it to be like a 10 to 13 man house. So that's usually like a 6 or 7 bedroom
Oh, these
house.
are big
Uh,
houses. Wow. Yeah.
Big old houses, yeah. And they'll put some bedrooms will have two guys, some bedrooms will have just one
Mm,
guy, but there's some other requirements to it. So they kind of let you know what those are. And then they'll walk the house with me before I actually buy it. And they'll say, okay, well, maybe we can add a couple bedrooms here in the basement.
mm,
And then if you did that, then we'll rent it for $3,000 a month. And then
mm,
that way I know going in before I even buy it, like what it's going to rent for. And they can kind of we'll set it up that way. So as soon as I'm done with the project, they'll move in like the next day,
mm, mm,
which my lenders love that too. Cause I can tell them like, I already have it pre-rented for $3,000 a month. They're like, oh
mm.
yeah, take the money. It's fine.
So that $3,000 a month house, what would you normally get if it was regular single family,
You know,
2020?
yeah, it's weird because it's like, what would you rent a 7 bedroom house for to a
Mm-hmm.
family? Like nobody needs that big of a house.
Mm-hmm.
But a 5 bedroom would probably rent for like 2,000 to 2,400.
Hmm.
I think there's some sort of law of diminishing returns on more bedrooms, but if you can pack guys into it like a sober house, then it kind of makes sense.
That's interesting. And then you already know exactly. And then they're making a killing on it because they're renting it two persons to room sometimes as well. So the
Yeah, it's
facility is.
it's actually like a nonprofit, almost like a pseudo government organization.
Mm,
So they're not really profiting. They pay each of the individual guys pay rent to the checking account for the house, and
mm,
then the checking account for the house pays me per month, but they're paying per week per guy. Um, so I get a lump sum on the first, but what happens is that checking account kind of builds up an overage.
mm,
So they have, if they have vacancy or whatever, they're fine, they're covered. Even during COVID, when their occupancy rates fell down to like 50%, they were
mm,
still able to make rent no problem because they had such big overages in that account.
mm. They're really disciplined and they just leave that account for that. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How much do the guys pay rent themselves? How much do they charge? I wonder.
I think it's like 250 a week per
Hmm,
person, something like that. And then they pay, their utilities and their internet and all that out of that account as well.
mm. Wow, like 900 a person, times five. Wow, they're making four grand at least, 5 grand.
Maybe it's not that much. I don't know. I don't really care. It's like they have all these rules and this whole system of operations. Like it's almost ran like a franchise where they have a book. There's a rule for every single thing. Like what happens when a guy doesn't pay? What happens when a guy relapses? What happens
Mm-mm.
when a guy, whatever. They have systems and processes to handle that. And I have like no oversight of it. So it's
Yeah,
super passive for us.
yeah, and they paying on time, so you never have to worry. And they're good about the property. Normally they have like a property guy in house that's the manager guy, right? That takes care of it. They,
Yeah,
they
this program is kind of ran like a democracy. So there'll be a president in the house, but there'll be like a chore coordinator and like a treasurer guy or whatever. They have their little roles
mm,
in within the house, and then they take care of the property really well. They take care of the lawn. Um, they keep up the properties really nice.
yeah, that's awesome. That's the other best part of it all too, because now you have somebody that's taking care of it really, really
Yeah.
well. That I mean, that's another landlord thing that you would hate to do. And a lot of these guys are probably handy, so they're fixing things and you're less things for you to have to worry about, right? Not to, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and their lease says that up they'll fix things at like up to $100 per month. So
Mhm.
like if the flipper flapper valve on the toilet stops working, like most of the time there's somebody handy enough in the house to just fix it. So
Mhm.
we don't get very many big calls. It's like, if the dishwasher goes out or something, they'll call us, but
Mm.
the little stuff they fix themselves.
You sound great. So you just have the name of the game is to find bigger houses, the one bigger bedroom kind of houses and
Yeah,
make
and
them
so I
work.
usually look for like more than 3,000 square feet, but they're usually just sitting on the market because nobody else needs to buy a 6 bedroom house.
Yeah.
So they're kind of easy to find.
How many do you have now?
Or
Nice.
yeah,
That's great. And those are cash flowing well. You should buy more of
mhm.
those.
I know. I want more.
More of those and more of the multifamily. So now you're getting into multifamily too. You just got your a nice multifamily, a 12-plex, right? And you got possibly another
I got
one.
a seven.
Oh,
I got a
seven.
seven
Okay.
under contract right now. We're talking to somebody about a 12, so hopefully we get that one too.
That's amazing. Those are
Yeah.
so much easier to manage. You're growing so fast. That's great.
Hopefully not too fast.
No, no. Faster the better. So we didn't get to speak, but me and Megan met at Brandon's Mastermind, I think a year or 2 years ago, um, in Maui,
Yep.
Mastermind in
Yeah.
Maui. I think the Maui Mastermind. Um, yeah, we hung out. A bunch of us kind of have our little circle omni, and a bunch of us kind of cruise together all the time, and just get to know people really well. At these masterminds, we're letting our guards down of all the things that we're struggling with, the things that we're weak at or we need help with, and so we kind of show our vulnerability on top of the fact that we all have very like-minded, very entrepreneur, we're all real estate investors. So I think all these commonalities really make us so close to each other, that we've had the same struggles, we've had the same, just the mindset, I think in general, really makes us really all very close. I think more than just a normal person, I feel like.
Yeah. And I feel like too, like it's hard to get close to people or like normal people, people that don't do this crazy flipping stuff.
Yeah,
Because they don't understand the problems, right? Like they just see, oh, you flip houses, so you must like have millions of dollars just sitting around all the time. And that's just obviously not the case. So we all kind of seem to have the same problems. You just have more zeros behind your problems and more zeros behind your wins. And
yeah.
but we totally understand each other's, issues in our business. And so I think it's cool to get close to people like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see each other grow now that we've been friends for a while now, and to see everybody's growth and change directions. And we all had some of this very similar struggles, some of the non-real estate struggles as well. We all have the same struggles
Yeah.
in life, and we've been always working through all of that. It's interesting. So me and Megan just came back from last week, our mastermind, and you come back and it's, what I struggle with is implementing it. And like I get back into my workflow of things, and I had all these great ideas and all this stuff I need to do, but then I fall back into, oh, I got to take care of this and that. And do you struggle with that? You know?
I do, but I've been really trying to be like very intentional about it. Like we spend a lot of money to be at those places. So if
Sure.
you just kind of waste it, then
Yeah.
what's the point? So I make like time, I schedule out time every week to work on things that I learned there essentially.
Yeah. So you put it in your schedule. I'm going to work an hour on, this kind of stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
I need to do that. I have my book that I take my notes in, and I just pull out my book and refer that my book, and I kind of follow up with that. But I like that you schedule time to think about it and to make it intentional. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, what we just learned at the last event, it was more for things that we needed to be doing. So, what did you think about
Yeah. Or
last week?
schedule it with your assistant and then make your assistant do all the things. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I'll
Yeah.
probably
No, it was good. It was super helpful. I'm excited to implement all that. Like looking back at, my social, I feel like it's just a hot mess now that Brandon's picked it apart. So it'd be good to clean it up.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're growing. You're zero actually a year ago when we were at the mastermind together. You like made your Instagram right then
Yeah.
and there. Do you notice the benefit now of it all, and you see the difference as you get more followers and so forth?
Maybe some. I I get like random deals sometimes through my social.
Hmm.
And so maybe that's a good thing. I mean, that's definitely a good thing, but is the juice worth a squeeze? Like it's so time intensive and
Hmm.
there's not a whole lot of money being made with it right now. So I
Hmm.
kind of feel like I'm like growing the tree before I need the fruit. And it's hard to explain to my husband, like, no, I'm not just dicking around on Instagram all day and
Yeah.
doing podcasts with Indar. He's like, can you actually do something that's important? It is important, kind of. It will
Kind of.
be.
It will be. No, it is. It is important, and it's a tough one because you want to work on your business and you love the real estate side of it all. And that's where you're like me. I love the real estate side of it. I love the focus on the business. I actually don't essentially care to do this stuff sometimes. And I, forced to do this kind of side of it all. But I'd rather go find a deal and structure it and close and figure out lending. And yeah, I love that side of it all.
Yeah, we're just deal junkies at heart.
Deal junkies. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. But social media podcasts and all these great stuff is great for all the viewers out there to share our struggles and to hear that it's not always easy, and it's a growth. The growth side of it all is definitely takes a lot. It takes a lot to juggle it all, right? To juggle
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah,
you
all the
gotta
different
have,
pieces.
yeah. Then you gotta have all these different hats, right? We gotta have the social media hat, and we gotta have the investor hat, and the loans and when you talk to your banker, you got to know how to talk to your banker and all that kind of stuff. And it's always interesting to keep learning all these different trades. It's really
Yeah, it's all just like selling though. Like
yeah,
most of what we do, whether we're selling to sellers or we're selling to investors, we're selling to lenders, we're selling to people watching our social, just
yeah.
sales.
I guess so. I guess so. Um, so what was your turning point in your life when you realized you had to start scaling this? When was your turning point? Because I don't think you realized you're scaling until recently. Or when you first went to that mastermind, I think you realized you're bigger than you were. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm the first year I did like um 5 deals or something, and then pretty quickly got up to about 15 deals a year, which I think is, that's a growth, right? That's scaling a little bit. And then I think that first year we went to Maui, I was like, what? Taro's flipping 100 houses a year? Like
Mhm,
that kind of sounds terrible, but also awesome at the same time. And so I think that was kind of the start of scaling, but I also want to be, I don't know, scale safely, I guess, like not get myself into a pickle.
mhm, mhm. So
Mhm.
what direction do you want to go now? I know you have because you have your staging company, which is great. Buying multi, you're flipping, kind of keep that same role going. Do you want to focus on one more than the other?
Um, I
It's
want to I want to keep more rentals right now.
mm,
I think the flipping before was we just kind of had to do it because we didn't have big tax returns, so the banks were not really thrilled about lending to us on rentals. And so we wanted to show some big income profits, and so we
mhm,
started flipping and then got kind of hooked on that.
mhm,
But I'd really like to get back to just, buying rentals and kind of growing that portfolio.
mm. Yeah, because I'm with you there because flipping is a job. Flipping takes work, and it's cool to say you flip houses, but it's a lot cooler to collect checks in the mail and not do
Yeah.
much work. But I'm with you on that one. It's a hard turning point, but to keep them both, I don't want to say juggling, but to now change your focus, sometimes um, to do them both, I guess you can say. For me, it is.
Yeah, for us, it's just like mostly single families and small multis. So I feel like it's the same kind of act of flipping. You're just either keeping it or selling
Mhm.
it, at least
Keeping
for
it as a
us.
rental.
Yeah,
Keep it
if
as a
it cash
rental.
flows, we keep it as a rental. If it doesn't, we sell it.
Mhm. And then the fine line is you got to still keep big money coming in. So sometimes do you flip it? Do you not flip it? You got to kind
Yeah,
of,
you got to play that a little bit because you got to
yeah.
pay payroll and all that. That's
Hmm, hmm.
more the flip income goes to that.
Yeah. Because the rental is more slow. It's a slow roll process and
Mhm.
kind of set it and forget it. And for us, we just have them, don't think about them, collect rents and keep them rented out, keep them, fix them up and so forth. So, what do you have? Do you have any advice for any people out there who feel like they're uh have made bad decisions in life or they've had past challenges, whatever it may be? What kind of advice do you have for those people who are starting from scratch or starting over in life and maybe even older, or have a colorful past, I should say. What do you have advice for them?
Yeah, me too. Colorful. That's a good word for
Colorful,
it.
colorful arms. Yeah, Teddy
Yeah,
Investor. For anyone who
so
can't see,
colorful.
this is Teddy Investor, by the way. So she's got colorful tats on her arms.
I think that, every day you can kind of choose to make your life better, or you could choose to make it worse. And so even if you have a colorful past or you're, crawling out of a hole that you kind of dug yourself into, it's
Mhm,
so easy to make like huge changes in your life as long as you just commit to it and do it. I mean, you know, what, 8 years ago, I was an addict and alcoholic, and now I'm a
mhm.
millionaire. So
That's
things can
cool.
change so fast, if you just keep getting better every day.
That's cool to say. That's cool to hear it say. Yeah, I mean, everyone starts from zero no matter what sometimes. So it's not freely given to us at all. Almost, I think the addiction part of me is making me such a better real estate investor because I'm just addicted to this now. I'm like all in 100% real estate. This is just, it's one addiction to the next, I guess you can say.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, you just use that change in your life to focus on something new.
Mhm.
Um, so if you 5 years from now, where do you see yourself, being and doing, and where, yeah, I remember we wrote down that at one of the events, I think something like that. Where do you see?
Yeah, I don't know. That's so hard for me because I feel like I'm not setting big enough goals. And 5 years is so far out that I feel like if I made a goal, it would be too small. So
Mhm.
I kind of go year by year, but um, yeah, I coming back from Maui this week, man, I want to live in Maui so bad. I could see myself living there within the
Oh,
next few
geez.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And everyone's moving there. I want to move there.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
it was it was fun just hanging out and like just doing stuff together with like-minded people. I think that combination was even the best part of it all. Don't you feel like
Yeah. Yeah, and just being around everybody and just like having fun and having friends there.
yeah, and making sure the business is still running.
Yeah.
I would wake up
Mine
early and
actually went like super well. I don't think I looked at my emails once.
oh, you didn't?
No. And I
I
got
would
back and there was like a rental done and the project had just gone on. Like everything went fine.
I wish it was always like that.
Yeah.
I was waking up early and doing all my emails before I would show up and trying to do the phone calls.
Yeah.
But there's always something to do for me.
Yeah. You got more going on than I do.
Just more fires to put out. Um, so we have a cool question from somebody else out there. This is from Nino Devi. Indar and Megan, I'm trying to get my first property financed by the bank for the first time. Do you get the property under contract with clauses to get out? Hopefully they will go for it, or do you wait? Or as long as the numbers make sense, does it really matter? Nino.
I would say to I would say to talk to the banks first and kind of get that piece lined up and maybe take like a hypothetical deal to the bankers and say, hey, if I brought you this deal, would you be able to lend on it or would you be able to finance 100% of the purchase and rehab or whatever it is that you're wanting them to do? And then they could let you know, like, no, you would have to put 20% down of the purchase, but then we could give you a line of credit for the rehab as long as it's 80% of the ARV. And so then if you know that's how they'll look at it, then you can go find a deal and structure it that way.
When you first started working that bank you had, did you was that the first person you did a deal with that bank, or was it somebody else? Did you have
Um,
to have credibility when you worked with that bank?
I think it they take the whole picture into consideration, right? So I didn't have a job and my tax returns weren't great because I just got started. But what I did have was the credibility piece because I had been flipping on hard money. So they were like, well, if you could do it on 18% interest, then you could definitely do it on 4% interest.
Mm.
So they were comfortable with that. But I have clients right now that are going to the same bank and they don't have the credibility piece, but maybe they have a job and, a little bit more of a better financial portfolio.
Mm.
So they'll still work with them. They'll still do those kind of things.
I would, yeah. So on that top of all that, I would just say lock up a deal first. The coolest thing about real estate is you have an inspection period, you have a J1, you have a due diligence period, and during that diligence period is when you can then shop around to banks, lenders, hard money, or if not, cancel the deal. But it just right then and there, you'll build a lot of relationships, and that deal falls through, you'll just gain that much rapport with banks or hard money or whatever lender per se. So I think having a deal in place with some solid numbers to work with is a lot easier to talk to a bank or a lender beforehand. But it's free to call a bank or a lender, just talk to them in general. It takes in take an hour of your day and call 10 lenders and see, you can easily do that as well. Just call 10 lenders. What take an hour to Google, put on Yelp 10 hard money lenders, 10 credit unions, and call them all in your in your area and find one. But it's a lot easier to have a deal you're working with and then see what the terms you'll get to make it work. So you can kind of do either way, I guess. But yeah, the coolest thing about real estate is you don't have to buy it when you get it under contract.
Yeah.
You can always figure it out. So put a deal under contract, check your numbers, really check your numbers. Actually, I noticed that a lot about first time people is their numbers are so far off. I had an agent one time just recently tell me about a deal, and she told me her numbers, and I think it was a him. It was like $1 million purchase, and it was going to sell at 1.3 million, and there's $150,000 rehab. I'm like,
Yeah.
man,
And he's
you're
like, oh yeah, you'll make 150,000. You're like, no, that's not how it
he
works.
said that. He said that. He said that. And I was trying to like help him understand it. Like I was trying to get him to explain things to me, how about this cost and that cost? And like he didn't want to like have nothing to do with me trying to help him. So that didn't go well.
Yeah, actually on
Yeah.
my first deal ever, I lost 20 grand because I did that kind of math. I did not figure in like closing costs, carrying costs, realtor commissions,
Yeah.
and that was the profit and then some.
Yeah. People don't figure out that kind of stuff. And the carrying cost can be longer, shorter if you got a 6 months, 9 months to sell. So
Yeah.
definitely have some kind of deal analyzer and analyze. Do you have a deal analyzer? Do you use something? You have Excel or anything?
No, I just do it on a napkin now.
You can do it on a napkin.
Yeah.
You know your costs that so well.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll send you my deal analyzer.
I wouldn't use it. I think you probably have sent it to me.
I
I'm
think I
like, ooh,
did.
this is a lot. This is not, it's not that hard here.
I sent you so many different documents. I think I sent you my
Yeah.
PFS and some of the other stuff. But
Yeah.
I guess you're in such a great market that you figure it out. That's the
Yeah.
name of the
It's
game.
it's really chill here for sure.
Yeah, figure it out. Are you working on any raising capital? Do you have any things coming up you want to market homes to sell, or of course your franchise of your staging company?
Yeah, the staging company, I'm wanting to open like 200 locations within the next couple years. So that is super exciting. If
What's
any
the
of your
name of your
listeners,
staging company?
it's Acorn Home Staging.
Yeah.
Um,
And
Acorn,
you want
like
to
the oak
open it
tree.
up, franchise it out across the US?
Yep, across the US. So that should be ready kind of by the end of this year. So I don't want to get anybody too excited about it yet, but it'll be
How
coming
you
soon.
how you gonna do that with all the material? I mean the bedding and all that stuff. You're gonna have it all just one package, basically, for all the
Yeah, like approved
supplies.
items, yep, vendor lists, all those kind of things. And then really we're selling the system, right? So we made it like Chick-fil-A, like a 17-year-old girl could do it.
Yeah.
I can totally remove myself. And then there's just not a whole lot of like options. I think that's the important thing is like simple sells and complex fails a lot of times.
Mhm.
And so a lot of staging companies aren't very profitable because they focus on like buying too much stuff or the wrong things, and then they kind of waste their
Mm.
inventory. So we've really boiled it down to just be very, very simple so that
Mhm.
you can start it, grow it, and then remove yourself from it.
Hmm. That's interesting. I never heard that side of your staging company. I don't know too much about your staging company, actually. We
That's
never.
because flippers are totally like not excited about it at all. I say that at real estate meetups. They're like, oh, yeah, whatever. Who cares? And so I'm like, yeah, I did 80 houses and I don't have to do any work for it. And
Yeah,
then it's like, oh, that's interesting.
that is amazing. And you charge couple grand a house, right?
Yeah, we do
Yeah,
1500 for the first
yeah,
month.
yeah.
So super affordable. I think we're probably one of the most affordable in town. And I say like we're the Chick-fil-A. If you want filet mignon, go pay for filet mignon. But most houses, like 1500 square foot first time home buyer house, it doesn't need
It doesn't need
huge
it.
fancy stuff. It just needs
Yeah,
a little something.
yeah. It just needs a bed and some basic stuff. Yeah. Especially on a $200,000 house. You don't need much.
Yeah.
Have you done any $1 million houses?
I've done like 800,000. I think that was probably my highest,
Mm.
which it's pretty freaking big here. 800,000 there, that's a one bedroom condo, but
It is
here
actually.
it's, 4,000 square feet or something.
So just more stuff to stage,
More stuff. Yep.
more items. That's amazing. And you have a team just running it, self-sufficient without you.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I should open a staging company. I used to stage my houses myself, actually. I went to Target, Ross. Actually, my first house, we did the return process. We were left the tags on and we're gonna try and save money by returning everything, which we did. We returned
That's so
everything.
funny.
I think made my $1,000 back.
Did
Returned it
you,
all.
and then you just bought it again the next time? Why didn't you just keep it for the next house
I
within
think
no
I
time?
I think the next one I already went to a staging company. I can't remember.
Yeah, you were like, that was terrible.
Yeah, I think one or two houses that I was already like, no, it's too much work going to
Yeah.
Ross and buying everything. Um, we sold a house on Kauai one time, and we couldn't find a staging company, so I spent $1,000 at Target and Ross and just put some basic stuff and just left it at the house for the new buyers. Like, here you go. I wasn't gonna bring it home. So it still even helps. So even there, I did a flip and I left it all at the house. So just to help it sell.
Yeah.
But cool. So thank you so much for coming on and talk the story. And we talk a lot all the time. So it's obviously interesting to just talk on here. A little different dynamic because we actually talk pretty in depth normally. um, but so tell everybody how they can find you out there. This is Taddy Investor, by the way, Miss Megan. So how can everybody find you on
Yep.
social?
The Tatty Investor on Instagram and
Mhm.
the Tatty Investor on Facebook as well.
Facebook and Instagram. So check her out. She's got some good posts with Brandon coming up as well. And of course, some good content and check out all the staging ideas that she has for you guys. So thank you, Megan, for being on the podcast and super
Thank
excited.
you.
Subscribe, like, comment, make some comments on there, guys. We love answering comments on me and Megan's pages. Um, just ask questions because it's the best way to learn, to grow. We didn't know it all ourselves, and we have a ton of good questions as we have questions today. So feel free to just ask questions and privately ask in the DMs if you're, shy about it all, because there's no bad questions. So thank you guys, and have a great day. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.